Alrighty, so in the shop today, I have it's an old camper trailer frame. We picked up for free. We stripped everything off of it. Wanted to make a bigger trailer for the wheelers because the other trailer that we have is just a little too small. So for this one here, this one's going to end up being just about 6 feet, 5 inches almost, a little less. But then this way, we're looking at almost, let's see, 11 feet, almost 9 inches. Well, it's like 8.5, 11 feet, 8.5 inches. Whereas the other one, I don't know if we're going to be able to get a good shot. It's kind of dark. Whereas this guy here is, let's see, 6 foot 3 inches. So it'll only be, is that 2 inches bigger? 2 inches wider. But from the front, oops, if I can get her to clip on there. There we go. But from the front to the back here, we're looking at 9 feet 11 inches. So it's not a bad trailer at all. It's done everything that I've asked it to. But we can only fit 2 wheelers on there, mine and Noodles, so the Quadmaster and the Scrambler. We've stuffed another machine on there, but everything hangs off and it's not what we want. So with this here, we'll be able to get the 3 machines on here easily and not have to worry about any overhang. So you can see I have 2 pieces of hat channel here. I can cut it up. It works out to be 6 pieces total, so I'll be able to put 2 in here, 2 here, 2 here. I like to reuse stuff. Those pieces are actually off of the old camper, so got to clean it up and everything, but no big deal. So I'll at least have these 3 sections set, and then all I have to work on is this section here and this section here. These boxes that they have for all the internals and stuff for the post, what I did on the other one was I flipped it over, rebolted it back in, and that is more than enough stability for the middle there. I don't really have to go too crazy with that. And then we're just going to use the expanded metal. We have a couple, like 4 or 5 more sheets behind the shop. But I'm going to go through, and I'm going to leave this bumper on. Attach all my lights and stuff to the bumper. This is the spare tire carrier. Might leave it on, might not, I'm not sure. It kind of restricts our access from the rear. Kind of makes us all only going this way to load it, which would be okay, honestly. And then the other thing we have to do is an axle flip. So I did this on the other trailer. Basically, I went and bought new purchase, took the axle out, put it underneath the springs, welded the new perch on in place, and got new clamps and everything, put it all back together. I'm going to leave the trailer brakes hooked up. I don't know, rerun that wire. Obviously, we have to put all new wires going back for the lights and whatnot, which is fine. So I'll have to do a 7-pin plug because of the trailer brakes. I would like to have trailer brakes on it just because, you know, we're going to have 3 machines on here, and it'd be nice to have that little extra safety feature with the breakaway in case if, for whatever reason, it broke or the hitch fell out of the truck, it would be able to stop on its own. We wouldn't have to worry about losing all the machines in one fell swoop. So, other than that, I'm going to go through and take off all the unnecessary things here. So there's little screws and stuff that are sticking out around where the old body and everything mounted. You got the pulleys for the old cable system. I'm going to chop those off. So in our state, you can build a homemade trailer, and it just has to be under 1,000 pounds. And basically, you go in there, say you made a homemade trailer, they're going to ask you how much you spent on parts and everything, and whatever the costs were, you let them know, you pay the taxes on that, and you go from there. The other one, I don't remember exactly what it weighed. It's not the first one that I've ever done. Yeah, Noodles did it for his little trailer that he has. He built it, went and got it registered as homemade. And it's small, fits one four-wheeler on it. It's perfect for him to pull behind his Jeep that he has. So I'm going to get started on this. I do have to go out and get the purchase for the axle. But I'm going to go through and I'm going to start cutting these pieces, because this hat channel will work perfectly for the front here as the supports. Let's see. One other thing I'm going to have to do is, you can see these are all sharp edges here. Ended up catching my leg while trying to move it in here on one of the corners. Left a nice little slice in my leg. Nothing terrible, but it did get me. And I'd rather not have that happen, especially because we got kids running around. We got animals. I don't need an animal run across and run up next to it. So I'm thinking either square tubing all the way, like 1 inch by 1 inch square tubing all the way around. Have it come across here. I can't do it across there, otherwise I can't get the tire off. Well, it depends on how far the tire sits down once the axle flip is on. We'll see. I'll come back to that. Might just build a, like I did on the other one for the fender. But yeah, I'm just going to go around, reinforce all the outside edge here, and make sure that is all good. I'm hoping to find more scrap metal laying around, or even if I have to buy some scrap metal off of like Marketplace or something, I will. I was also thinking too, doing something like this. Getting some pipe and going around and welding it up all the way around. But I feel like it's not going to do what I want. I don't know. We'll see. I'm going to check prices on everything and see what's going to be cheaper. So, yeah, I'm going to get started and come along for the ride. Alrighty, so I ran out to the store and picked up the new spring seat, the new purchase for the axle. So I've got those. I picked up some angle iron, some 3/4 square. While I was out, I found an old bed frame. So this actually fits quite perfectly in here. Now, this is not for structural, it's more for just to make it so I don't have all these sharp edges everywhere. And, I don't want a sharp point in the front. So I figure if I take this, weld it onto here, I'll get rid of that sharp edge all the way around. So I'm going to use what I can of the bed frame around the edges. The 3/4 square I got for the front and side. I had an old piece laying around, but that is actually the perfect size for that. So, and then all these gaps that are here, other pieces of the frame, like these, I'm going to trim them down, put them in place, and weld them. They are actually the same thickness as the trailer. So, I shouldn't have any issues. I have all these extra pieces as well that I will use for something. I'm not quite sure what. As you can see, I started cutting the braces in between here. So I've got 2 for here, 2 for there, 2 for there. And then I ran out of the hat channel, which kind of works out because on the bed frame, I had some angle iron. So I'm going to take these and I'm going to use these for what I can for in between here and maybe in here. So we'll see what happens. Probably going to start by cleaning everything up, cutting everything off, getting everything in order. I just went through and cut all the little knobs and bolts and everything that was holding everything together, took it apart. So this way I could figure out exactly what I needed. I have an old tray here that I picked up from, I believe it's the bottom of a kennel. I've used them as drip pans, but I figure once I do the axle flip, I can use it for a fender. So about half is, if I cut this in half, it'll be perfect, one for each side. Seems like it was meant to be. But I will have to brace it with some of the angle iron. And I know not all of this is gonna fit. All right, so if we grab the tape measure here and we look, these pieces are approximately 3 feet 4 inches. I know it was upside down, but so 3 feet 4 inches works out to be about 20 feet total, which actually should be enough to do down the sides up to this point here, skip the middle here, and then do down. I'll have to make some type of support for making my fenders out of either probably the angle iron. Probably got too much angle iron to think about it, but better safe than sorry. But yeah, I'm gonna get started cleaning up the frame, cutting off all the pieces that don't need to be on there, and then I'm going to slowly work my way around. I'll probably start in the center on the supports, welding. I do have 2 different types of welders. I have a stick welder, and then the regular wire fed flux core welder. Unfortunately, I have to order a new handle here. This one's seen better days. I kind of melted it with the last trailer I built. So I'm going to try and repair that and order a new piece. Should be able to get one off Amazon or eBay. Amazon preferred because it'll be here quicker. So yeah, I'm going to go through it and I'm going to finish cleaning everything up. And I'll check back with you. Alrighty, so as you can see, I've got these all tacked in. Looks fairly straight for, you know, for me anyway. It's good enough. So you can see the hat channel up here, did the angle iron there and there. I'm thinking I'm gonna do a piece across each side here, just to give that a little extra support. I don't think it actually needs it. I don't think I did it that on the other one. I'll go out there and check in a minute. But it definitely needed the supports down the middle. Still on the fence on whether or not I'm gonna do supports across here, which I really don't think I should. Yeah, I really don't want to add extra weight that's not necessary. So I tore my this welder apart, and I was able to fix the gun for a little bit. The gun worked for a little while. That's how I was tacking everything. And then it died. It wouldn't work anymore. So I broke out the stick welder for the last pieces. I am terrible at stick welding. You can see what that looks like. It's horrible. You better don't look at that. So I was playing with the stick welder over here to put this patch in, and it was horrible. So I had to go over with the MIG and patch up whatever holes I'd blown through. Yeah, I would love to weld everything together, but I was informed by Noodles that he wanted welding practice, so probably not going to do that. I think I'm going to go through and I'm going to cut out all the pieces for the corners and all the pieces for each section where it's missing, and then go from there. So I'm going to, for each corner, I'm going to need, 4, 7, because over there it doesn't have one. I will have to run a piece of angle iron from there up to kind of fill in that spot. I am going to take those stairs off because it's an ATV trailer. We don't really need stairs for that. So I'll take them off, maybe repurpose them for something else. But you see that it's come together. I will take let's see. I still have it up here. Yes. So got a wire brush here. And it goes on the grinder. Take that. We'll probably end up going over the entire frame once everything's done and welded together. So this way we can paint it, get a good coat of Rust-Oleum on it. And this way we don't have to worry about it rotting out on us. it'll be good for many years to come. All right, so welded one of the corners on here. Still a little hot. So got good penetration, everything's good. So I'm gonna do this on every corner, and I'm probably gonna weld up in between there, and this way, nice, strong, rigid frame. And yeah, I just want to show you guys what I was talking about with the corners here, how I was gonna blend them together. The other parts of the bed frame here that I picked up, I want to take, so this way I don't have a sharp corner here. I'm gonna take this and run it just like this, right on down the side. This is nice, light. You can see it's not very thick steel. Like I said before, it's not structural. It's more, I guess, aesthetic, safety. So I have 3/4 to go in the front here, or this, either or. This way, I don't have to worry about a sharp corner here, somebody walking into it, or dog rubbing against it, or, you know, whatever. Maybe it's stupid to think like that, maybe not. I don't know. But that's what I'm thinking about. So I'm going to go through and I'm going to cut out all the other pieces, tack them together, like I said before, and go from there. Okay, as you can see, we got the axle out. I had shaky hands. Or is your nickname Little Hands?
Both.
Shaky hands. All right, we'll go with shaky hands because he's holding the camera right now. So we got the axle unbolted out. If you look up over there, you can see the leaf springs. We got them sitting off. We took the whole leaf spring assemblies off and everything to drop it out. So I took, wire wheeled the axle here, put the new spring perch on. I eyed it up the best I could in the front to try and get it somewhat in line with that one. It's not going to be perfect, but it's going to be close. And then I went through, clamped it on there, and then I used a tape measure to measure from the bottom here to the top. So I got lucky. It is 3 inches exactly here. So you got 3 inches here. Then when I measure the other side, it's also 3 inches. So I'll be able to weld the new spring perch on. I'm not going to take the old one off. I'm going to leave the old one on because why not? It's not going to affect the U-bolts or anything. And we'll be good. So this side is set up. I'm going to break out the welder, weld it down. I've got to do the same thing on that side. That one I haven't done yet. I've only got one of these big clamps that I'm using on this one right now. So I'll go through, I'll tack it in place, and we'll go from there. Alrighty, so we had to pull the tires and hubs and everything off. I actually had to take the whole brake backing off to get to weld in here. You can see my welds are not the prettiest in the world, but they will hold. I went through and I tacked it on the inside here. That's why you see that little weld there. These welds are better, I say about the same as what it came with from the factory. They stopped a little bit shorter. I went all the way through, down. No big deal. But both sides, you know, again, my welding is not, I am not a perfectionist on the welding. As long as it does its job, I'm good. And remember, a grinder will make any weld look pretty. So these brakes don't look too bad. There's no cracks in them that I can see. It's a little pit there. But no, I don't think they've actually been used in a long time. Everything seems free. Everything seems to move. And the hubs themselves don't look terrible. Rusty from sitting. But a few minutes with a wire wheel. Clean that up. So, we got the new perches on both sides. I'm going to go and reinstall the springs. And I'll probably slide the axle up in place and get the bolts started. And then I will work on the rest of it. And then we'll find out how much of a height difference we gained. Finished welding everything, as you saw. I went through and got 2 new U-bolts. They only had 2 in stock, so I picked the best 2 of the other ones and threw them on there. Figured it'll be okay. With the axle flip, it gave me quite a bit of height difference. Also, too, I dropped it down to the next notch. I'm actually thinking I'm not going to have to do like crazy height for the fenders. Now this is without load, without anything on it. I don't even have the hub all assembled. But as I showed before with this thing, might be able to get away with literally just setting it on top and calling it a day. I have a little hump instead of having a bigger hump like I do on the other trailer. So, it kind of works. It makes it a lot higher than I thought it was going to. I mean, you could see, if you look back on the video before, the height that was on there, I mean, we've probably dropped quite a few inches. You can see she's off the ground now. I think it would be hitting the ground if I hadn't raised the rear of it up a little bit. I think it might actually be too high. I might have to drop it back down. But you know what? I'm going to do that real quick. I'm going to move the bolts and see what the difference is from there up. So I'm going to do that and then I'll check right back with you. All right, so I moved the bolts back up. It brought it up a little bit, not much. Looking at this, if you go from the center of the axle to the top of the springs, it works out to be roughly 3 inches. And it's like 2 3/4 inches. So that's all guesstimate. So 2 3/4 inches. So instead of being up top, putting it underneath, that gives us that little extra height. So I'm just going to clean out the grease. The bearings are good. So I'm going to clean out what the grease is there, repack it, put new grease in, and reassemble all of this, tighten everything up, and then get it off the jack stands in the rear so it's at least under its own height. I do wish that I had measured how high the trailer was previously. She was pretty low. I will say that. It was way lower. But with it coming up, it gives us a nice flatter bed. And yeah, with that all that said, I'm going to go through, button everything up, get it down. And yeah, so axle flip will be done. And then it's basically figuring out what I'm going to do for the fender wells here, how I'm going to build this up and come over. If I am going to use the plate here, I just have to get something to match it on both sides. So I'll have to build something to come up, over, and down. So we have that support, although I will say it's got some pretty sturdy support. So, but once I cut it down the middle and everything, and that's all going to change. But I like this idea better. You can see it's going to have plenty of clearance. If I stuck it flat, this way, with just the material, get that up there. There's still clearance, but it's, once you get it loaded down and everything, you're not going to have that extra for the bumps. So I think this will work out really well for our fenders. So I'm going to continue on, and we'll let you know what's next. All right, so re-greasing these hubs. It's not too hard. It's fairly easy. I'm going to throw some gloves on so I don't get too coated here. Pop this wheel back off. And you can see on this hub, one of the studs came out, which is not a big deal. Not really worried about it. We'll pull out bearing here, set it up off to the side. The grease actually isn't that old in here. Yeah, this was repacked fairly recently. So I'm going to take some, I'm going to stuff it down in here. We'll set this guy down here. get a couple pumps out. Get all my fingers here. That was a squirter. Now basically I'm just going around and pushing it up into where the bearing would seat, because I don't want to have to pull this whole seal out and everything. I'm not really going to worry about it. Now if this was really dry, then I would have to pull everything out and redo everything properly. All the rest in there will get cleaned up once it starts getting used and starts getting running down the road. The first couple times that the brakes are activated, so I'm not really concerned with that. This one here, yeah, I don't see any pitting on this. I'm not really concerned with it, so get some more grease in my hand and redo this one. I probably got too much grease. Basically, you're packing it in. Oops. I've seen it done many different ways. Different people do it different ways. Everybody's got their own way of doing things. You can see I got fresh grease in there. Take what's on my hand and kind of wipe her down in here, so there's extra. All right. Then I'm just gonna stick her back in place. Line her up on the shaft and send her on home. And then you reinstall everything. Washer, nut, so on and so forth. So simple. I mean, you can go crazy. You don't really have to. Like I said, if it was dry or if there was pitting, I would have bought a whole new bearing set and started over from the bottom and gone from there. So yeah, nice, simple, quick. I'm going to finish up this side and then jump over to the other side and we'll go from there. So then just a quick thing with these nuts. You don't have to crank down on them. I've seen in the past where people have gone through and really cranked down on them. You don't need them cranked down. You need them tight to where you have no slop, no play. And get your pin lined up. You can put your cotter pin in there. I'm sure once this goes down the road a little bit, actually gets back into use, I'll have to go through and retighten this to make sure everything's good. But other than that, she should be fine. And put this on, just seal her up. And now this one has been redone, re-greased anyway. And now I'll do the other one. But yeah, I just wanted to share that little bit of information with these castle nuts. You don't want to crank them down too hard. Otherwise, you'll create too much friction, wear out your bearings too fast, and you'll be doing it all over again in a couple months, depending on how much you use the trailer. If you only use it once a year and you over-cranked it, you might not realize it till the next year or the year after. But if you use it, like me and Noodles do, we would know fairly quickly, especially in the spring and summer. So, yeah. Just wanted to share that tidbit. Alright, now that she's back on her own wheels here, I think it's going to be perfect. With the little fender on there, I think that'll be just enough for clearance. And she'll be good. Alrighty, so did my little frame here. cut my sheet here in half. And that's pretty much what it's going to be. It's flat, nothing crazy. Plenty of room for shenanigans. I do plan on bracing this, at least one across here. Kind of went overkill when I was welding the tops here. See, my welds aren't too terrible, but these are just tacked at the bottom. In case if I change my mind and I don't like it, I could always cut them off and redo them. So you can see on this side did the exact same thing to make it all uniform. And just that. So, again, using what I have, trying to be cheap. And so far, she's working. So, alright, I'm calling it a night. It's late. I gotta work tomorrow. And hopefully in the next day or two, me and Noodles will get together and we'll have a welding party. So if you like this kind of content, like, share, subscribe, hit the notification bell to know when we're posting new stuff. Also follow us on Instagram at rusted_nut_repair. And if you like watching us build weird things and repair things, come back and watch us again. And we'll see you next time.